Hello guys, today we are going to be talking about color theory. I'll try to make this easy to understand so that more beginner artists can also apply some of this information into their own artworks. Now let's begin. First things first, I'll be using time lapse as visual examples along with some other clips and images to understand this more. The major thing I'll be talking about is this crazy thing called the color wheel and why it is so important for understanding color theory. To simplify this, just know that complementary colors are colors on the opposite end of the wheel. Take for example light blue and red, or green and purple. Another thing is triadic colors, which are colors evenly spaced around the color wheel, such as red, blue and yellow. Canva has a good resource that allows you to view the color wheel and mess around with it to your liking. Now, how does this work in an actual drawing, you may be wondering? It's actually quite simple. Take this drawing for example, the colors used are pretty much triadic, and I didn't use any other colors high up on the color wheel, mainly staying in that lower section. Limiting your palette can help to make color choices easier and allows you to experiment with the limitation. It can keep your work harmonious as well, and even tell a story, but I'll go into that later. Now let's talk about value, because it is extremely crucial to color. If your values aren't there, then your colors can look muddy or lose its point of interest. I'll use old art for an example. If you look at this image, it's kind of hard to tell what is the focal point, the area of main interest, due to the values and the overall image being desaturated. When we put this image into grayscale, we can see that it lacks depth. Another thing is the lighting, and the eyes were pretty much fighting for visual interest in color. An easy way to fix a problem like that is to use value wisely. A tip I can tell you guys is to do value studies in 2 tones only, or 3 tones. That way get a grasp of what catches people's eye, typically areas where light is showing, and how to break color down into simple grayscale. Taking notes of why certain pieces work even in grayscale and what may not work helps to train your eye to catch the bigger picture and apply that to your own drawings. That way it can help with color choice and deciding what you want to be the focus of your piece. When using a variety of colors, it can become overwhelming very fast, so working from values to color makes it simpler and easier to manage. Now let's move on to storytelling through color, which is something that applies to film as well. So we'll show some examples with it. As most of us already know, colors come with emotions, not all the time, but it can be used to symbolize certain emotions or provide a tone. Looking at this drawing right now, I used colors that resonated with me at the time and tried to make it tell a bit of a story, like with the 2 heads. The one of the left leans towards a warm redder tone to symbolize childlike innocence, and the one on the right leans to a cooler bluish tone to symbolize change and maturity, along with just distant, more colder emotion. Applying this to film is similar, as they utilize similar methods through lighting schemes. Premium Beat has a good article addressing this, which you'll leave in the description below. The color red usually depicts violence or danger, things that are menacing or intimating are usually shown in deep red light, and red hues can also be used to show anger. Along with that, red is also used to depict romance, similarly to using pink to show passion. Orange commonly shows happiness, warmth, or youth. Orange is often a color correlated to childlike innocence, along with some others, like blue or yellow. There are some exceptions to this though, as it can also depict loneliness or desertion. Green is usually used to depict nature, as green is a common color of many kinds of plant life. Green is also used to depict disgust, evilness, or corruption. It can invoke fear into an audience, depending on the tone of the scene. Blue commonly portrays scenes of melancholy or sadness, because blue is a very cool color that usually gives the emotion of sadness, but it can also be used to depict calmness or childishness, as mentioned before. And the last one I'll mention is purple, which is meant to show more fantasy-like or mythical scenes. Purple is a very ethereal and almost divine-like color in film. Purple can also be used to show passion in a similar way to red, pink, and to show illusion. If you really want to hammer in an emotion or tone, you can limit yourself to only using a certain color or set of colors and apply the same concepts of value to still keep the piece interesting. In this example, I used only this muted teal tone and hints of pinkish red as the main point of interest. Moving on to something a little simpler, a trick to make your color stay matching in an environment or scene is to color the background first. Using colors from the existing environment shows the ambient light, aka the primary source of light coming from an area, and keeps characters and or objects look more like they are actually in the scene, but obviously be considerate of other areas in the drawing that may also show different light sources, for example a street light or the ambient occlusion. The ambient color in shadows from something like the color of grass and the blue sky onto a rock's shadow. Now when it comes to lighting, you can kind of cheat this in digital, but not really, because you still need to have some understanding of color value in order to do this. If you have a light source, you can brighten it or even create a light source using blending modes such as color dodge or add, which are the ones I prefer to use, but whatever works for you is fine. Using blending modes like multiply or color burn can be used to darken your artwork or can be used as shading. What I usually do is separate my darks and lights with these modes and double check if my values look okay by looking at the drawing in grayscale. A way to do this is in Procreate is to make a new layer, fill with the color gray, and change the blending mode to saturation. I could go more in depth about lighting, but that's another can of worms. Let me know if you guys would like a video on that though. The last thing I want to address is please try to do color studies and do not just color pick. For no reason understand why you are placing certain colors where, and you can even challenge yourself to match a color or multiple different colors without using the color picking tool. That way you can know more how colors relate to one another and why some colors may look blue or pink etc. but are actually more of a grayer color. To explain that though it's basically when you move to another color on the wheel, that transition moves through the grays and to that next color, like a blue moving to a red. This kind of thing also applies to scenes as well, and making sure that values are set from the beginning help make a piece less complicated, especially if there is a lot going on in the artwork. If you know where to place what already, choosing colors becomes less of a hassle and makes your art process faster. And my final tip is to redraw or edit old artwork and understand or try to improve the colors used in the old piece, so that you can know what you needed to work on and how your changes affected the piece. That's pretty much all I have to say. ABT color theory from my noggin. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions regarding color theory, feel free to ask me in the comments below.